guys. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is another episode with PJ and myself. And this time we want to talk about business health, the healthiness of your business. PJ, it's actually a topic, it's close to your heart. So maybe you could do the introduction and kick it off.
Yeah, Rahim, I will, because so I feel really strongly about this. I'm seeing, and because also I sense clients do too, because the health of your business or the healthiness of your business is directly related to the healthiness of your people, right? And often we talk about the health of individuals, but I think more given the stresses and strains, particularly the financial, matters that clients are facing now, businesses facing now, they're looking at more the health of the team and therefore the business. Let's face it. If we have a poorly or unhealthy business, there may be no business to employ people. So listen, these things link, right? The last year, 18 months, many clients have looked at individual needs. And quite rightly too. We sent people home in the pandemic and we need to look after them. But I don't think businesses have paid enough attention to the health of the business, and specifically not, to the health of the team, and therefore for the betterment of the business. So that's something that I really, if we could address and have a bit of a heated conflab about that today, I think it'd be useful.
Oh, we can, of course. Well, I think it's you mentioned something right. We name it COVID, but honestly, I think we need to get away with the COVID and stop using COVID as an excuse. COVID happened. COVID probably is still here somewhere, but we should not use COVID as an excuse for our organization or team members being stressed. We should not use COVID as an excuse for not having enough resources or not having enough time for people in the office. We should not use COVID as an excuse for what the heck, because COVID is currently used as an excuse, and I hate people.
I can't. God, no, I can't believe you phone up somebody, you go into like an answer phone. Telephone system because I'm sorry, due to COVID, we're struck. No, you're not. No, you're not. That is absolute nonsense. You are choosing to offer poor service.
Exactly.
Now, the knock-on of that is how's that impacting on your staff and their well-being? Because if I then do get connected, I'm probably grumpy because I know that's.
No, I fully agree with that. So that COVID excuse, stop doing that excuse because it's a lot of bull. And a shit behind it.
Yeah.
So I can do it in my own podcast. So if you don't like it, it's up to you. But it's a lot of bullshit. Look, at the end of the day, if you look at organizations, we both do projects and programs for a lot of organizations. And if I look back at the organizations, the organizations that worked best had people who were motivated, excited, were supported, had fun, had exercise at work. Even had a massage person coming every Friday or whatever, give it a name. But at the end of the day, those organizations were focused on healthy people, strong people, to help them elevate their mindset to perform higher. If you talk about sustainable high performance, and I talked about it a lot in my past podcast also with other people, sustainable high performance is not just offering coffee, tea, a drink, and maybe a juice at work. It's not offering apples at work. It's making sure that your team members have that end-to-end support in their sports, in the time they have off, the time they have to do the work well, but also the right resources and the right volume of resources.
Right,
so
I think
sorry?
No, go on, because I think there's one in that. Can I just go back? Because you made a couple of really good points. It's more than, I know we're kind of half joking, but it's also true. It's more than apples and pears. Our well-being is more than apples and pears, right? We know that. And I do like your bit about, and there was a great time when, Friday afternoon yoga or Friday morning yoga. But now I think we've moved on. And I genuinely think one of the issues in business now is that yoga is not enough. So, for a period of time, absolutely, I'm a big fan of yoga, right? It's great. It helps me relax. And it may even de-stress me for a while. But if my boss is an arse, if my stress is around a poor relationship, with a senior member of the team, there's no amount of yoga, no amount of apples, no amount of that's going to make me feel better about that. I need to pay attention specifically to that relationship. And actually, I don't think businesses are having those difficult conversations. I think many have forgotten how to. I think some are afraid to. given COVID, we got out the habit of doing it. We are confused or concerned about giving feedback. We're confused or concerned or we fear saying the wrong thing to somebody for fear of somebody saying, I'm stressed. I might leave, or I'm going to go off sick, or whatever it is people say. But we need, if we want to genuinely reduce stress, improve health and well-being, and up the performance, we need to pay attention to what needs attention. And I think that's some of those difficult conversations, or it may be poor performance, where the business, if we go back to the business needs to address it, but it needs to address it firmly. And I don't think people should be afraid of saying to others, come on, how can I help? Or, you need to step it up. So
I think you have a really strong point. I was talking actually a few weeks ago, one of my trainees, look, I'm a coach, whatever you call them, but this guy is a highly sought, well-known, long-term executive, has a lot of experience, and we actually had a conversation on what can you actually say at work, how far can you go, because everything is complicated. Right? You can't name a color, and we know.
Okay, but hang on. Okay, great. Why is it complicated?
It's not.
It's really but it's kind of been made complicated. So in about you won't remember this because you're too young, but in about 1991, back before you were born.
Thank you so much. I really love you, buddy.
There were some sort of British guys who ran the 4x400 meters, right? Roger Black and stuff. Okay, yeah. So they ran 4 times around a track, 400 meters, and they did exceptionally well and beat the Americans when they weren't supposed to. Now, if you actually, and Roger Black's a great guy, but I was just, I watch it often because it's absolutely amazing. And the reason I watch it is because they actually changed the running order in order to win. So they knew they weren't going to win if they just sort of carried on as normal, right? Anyway, so they changed the order. But if you look at it, I didn't notice in 1991. It was only when I was looking at the other day. It's 3 black guys and a white guy, but no one says it's not a problem. No one says that. And in fact, the worst bit is Roger Black's awful shorts. Yeah. But no one noticed. No one said it wasn't a problem. And now I kind of think, shit, is it a problem? Do I need to? And I think something's happened in business, not just around colour, but all sorts of stuff. There's like middle-aged blokes don't know whether to joke or not. I don't know whether to, because a client phoned me and said, I don't know whether to hold the door open for somebody anymore. It's stupid.
Well, it is the case. You can't say that much anymore. And it's difficult to align on, are we doing the right things? Look, I believe on diversity inclusion, I'm 200% for that. So that's not an issue. That's not a conversation, not a discussion in this podcast. But I do feel and also do see that many leaders struggle. What can I tell my team member? How can I approach them? And there are always correct ways of approaching it because we are so conscious. We're trying to be so conscious of everything. We sometimes may not even tell people certain things. We might not even confront them because of certain reasons. And that's an issue. That's an issue. And I'm surprised that, look, I haven't been a leader of a large team for quite a while, for a few years, as self-employed consultant. But if I hear my old colleagues talking about what they can and what they cannot do and how cautious they need to be, they're walking around with something in their ass all day. And again, maybe this is a bit too much, but really, it's horrible. The challenge, I think, is for everyone is how to have that conversation without people getting into the I play the X card. And that's, I think, a lot of leaders have that concern. I'm also going to be honest. I work for large companies. I've got massive teams. I tend sometimes to make jokes that sometimes they just get out of there because they are there. Sorry for that. That's just who I am. But it's always acceptable because we are a team. We work together. We care about each other. We take care of each other. We make sure that we all perform. But we also are open when people are not performing. And we ask the question, how does this happen? How can we avoid this? How can we do it better? We try to get those people, everyone within the team, to brainstorm without saying you were wrong or you were wrong or you were wrong or we did an incredibly fucking annoying job. Now, how can we avoid this in the future? What learnings can we take from that? Because that learning agility and that way of asking things as a team, as a partner in crime, that's the way forward. then still I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, but Rahim, it doesn't always work like that. If one of my team members doesn't perform and it's a feminine or it has a certain preference, whatever, I really need to be careful how I approach that. I said, but that's not true. It still is a team. The moment you start thinking about all of that stuff, it's starting to block you from communicating. For me, anyone around me, like you and me, my wife, my son, our interns, they're all the same. Everyone has a contribution towards where we want to go. And as long as we all go together, it doesn't matter. But we need to be open to each other. We need to be able to say what's happening. But lately, everything seems to be put on a certain...
No. I think, and some of the things you do, when you need to say something to somebody, quite often it's fact, right? It's information. It's based on information. Here is the information. Let's discuss this. It's not me against you. It's us against the problem. So if something hasn't worked, for example, or if somebody clearly isn't enjoying their job, let's have a conversation about what do we need to do so that, how can I help you enjoy your job? How can I help you do your job even better? Actually, what is it you really want? But you've got to be so careful, with that. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, we've got to make some redundancies. It's difficult, in the UK, I guess globally too, but so making redundancies, and people are going off with stress, so you have to have the conversations in order, and you can't have the conversations because they're not in, and that's difficult because ultimately it would be healthy for everyone to have the conversation, get it over with. But not turning up on the call is not a healthy option for someone because they know kind of what's coming. So my view is get it done, get a good deal, and then think how can we help you move on, or wherever it is you kind of want to go to. So avoiding difficult conversations is not healthy because we still, and that's whether this is at home, at work, at school, at play, you still need to have them. Sure. And sometimes it is uncomfortable, but have them and move on. But you kind of can't move on. But you're right, because the topic sometimes gets surrounded with other things. Say, is it a feminine thing? Is it a sex thing? Is it is it a white thing? Is it a yellow thing? Mm-hmm. It's a thing. The thing is the thing, and if that's stopping businesses, bearing in mind, if I may. Probably the greatest reducible cost in business today is in working relationships. I probably can't do much about my gas bill. I probably can't do much about my kind of rent and rates. So where I can go to save time and money and improve performance is the relationship between me and you at the local level. And ours, I remember specifically the time that our relationship went to the next level is when you started taking the piss out of me. And I went, great, because now I know it's important, but now we've got a relationship.
Exactly.
Until you start teasing me, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure where we are, and I mean that lovingly. But you got to tease me. Now, I appreciate that's personality type. It's not the same for everybody, but you've got to go up a notch, and that means investing in the relationship, and it means enabling both people to say what they think and feel.
No, it's making that connection between people. Look at us, as you mentioned. Also, we met each other, I think 6 months, a year ago, whatever. We had a few chats, just casual chats. We do the same thing. Actually, we're competitors. Two bold guys jumping around, hopping around from client to client. But the thing is, the moment you can have fun and joy, the moment you can have that trust within your team, it doesn't matter what you say. It's about how you guys together do and fix problems. And always there's a crucial conversation coming up. You'll have crucial conversation when someone wants a pay rise at the end of the year. When you get your annual assessments and you give someone an excellent, and then you're being overruled by your leadership team that it's an okay because of whatever happens. All of these things can happen at the same time, and still you need to have that conversation. And it could be crucial conversation. A lot of people struggle with those, but again, it's I think the crucial conversation, the best way to do it, and that's how I always do it, is first understand. Get a common understanding. So if someone is attacking me, I generally want to understand why they are attacking me. I'm not going to answer. It's like getting into a fight. Do you hit back, or do you take a step back and then basically look at what's happening in front of you and try to assess the situation? Get a clear view on what's happening. Get a clear view on what the impact is on your team or on others before you respond. Don't react before you actually know what's happening. That crucial conversation you can have at any time if there's trust, if there's a common thing. If there's no trust, you have to build that trust in any conversation. It doesn't have to do with your gender, your preferences, or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. And I think maybe there's a message we need to give to people who are listening is start stepping away from now, let's say it differently. We need to all be diverse and inclusive. That's the most important thing, because there's no difference between guy, girl, preferences, or whatever color. So that it's not there, and we shouldn't have that. But that said, we do need to tell other people if they are doing things which are not right. And we need to be clear on our intentions. Because I think if your intention is the good one, your conversation will be a good one. If your intention is a horrible one, you can expect a slap in the face, of course. So start with good intentions. Start with understanding, I think. I think that's a really important thing. Understand the other person, because your perception may be your reality. It doesn't have to be their reality. There's one thing I'm saying for the last 30 years is what I learned is someone else's perception of you is their reality. Before you react on a comment, first understand their reality, because it may be different than yours. I think that's also an important one.
I know there's a chap, kind of I guess a mentor of mine, been 25 plus years now, but he often talks about kind of, hero or villain. It's, in your world you may be a hero, in somebody else's world you can be a villain, and actually you may have no idea why, or but you say it's seek to understand first, what is it going on for the other person. But if I can just quickly back to your point about, I guess, having a difficult conversation and then kind of coaching people around it, like, let's call it, problem solving. Some of these things it's actually, there is something in there that can be solved. So it's not the end of. So, if you say to me, hey, listen, right, stop stealing my tea bags. Okay, that's a piece of information. Let's have a conversation. I understand that upsets you. But then there's firstly, I didn't, maybe I didn't know they were your tea bags, genuinely. But now I know, what can we do? Okay, well, here's the option, and then we kind of build the trust and move on. And I just pick that one as a light, easy point. But we don't accept. Rather than just, you said, there's no point just arguing. I didn't know. Give me some more information. Let's have a conversation. What's the best outcome for both of us? And often there's an even better outcome. Actually, we're going to share. We're going to take turns buying tea bags. I've no idea what it is. But then we move on and we advance together. And the funny thing is as soon as you start having conversations about that, which can be emotional for people, especially if they're irritated by it, they've hung on to it for weeks or months. In fact, there was somebody I did a bit of work with a while ago. They'd put off having promise you, I shocked. They put off having a difficult conversation for nearly 20 months for fear they'd upset the other person. And then when they had the conversation, the person went, why didn't you just tell me? I had no idea. It wasn't in my consciousness. So you sort of move on. But when you start having those conversations, it's what's the next one we can have, and then what's the next one we can have. And you said a great point earlier. How can we elevate people and their kind of relationships? And I think that's what business, if I can go into that, if business could start or further elevate people's thinking and behavior, and therefore be able to mine or harvest the huge potential knowledge, creativity, experience, and so on that sits in the business, how much time and money they could save. Remember, they're already paying people. So you're already paying my salary, your salary. So why not create an environment, which I think includes having difficult conversations? And as you say, we're not getting into DE&I now, but we all know that DE&I makes good business sense. It's common sense. It makes good business sense. Therefore, as I say, mine or harvest that wealth of potential that sits there that I don't think many businesses can access. They certainly can't fully access it. And if that was on the balance sheet, perhaps it would change some of these conversations about having difficult conversations. If you're listening to this, if you want to have difficult conversations efficiently, effectively, remember there's a study, it is out of date, and all I'm doing is actually backing out Rahim here, is I think it's about 2008, so excuse me, but it's something like 90% of managers and leaders are unable or unwilling to have difficult conversations effectively. Right. Now, it doesn't matter specifically what the number is, but it will be up there somewhere, and it's unacceptable. But if you get a bit of coaching, And if you have a third person to talk you through those difficult conversations, once you've had one, it's much easier to have 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And it builds the trust. It also builds the muscle. It's a bit like going to a gym. It's no good just, you can read the book that says, here's the 7 steps to having a difficult conversation, whatever it is, whatever book you read. You've still got to have your first one. You've still got to go to the gym, put your gym kit on. And it's a bit embarrassing, a bit difficult. But if you get someone to coach you through, it's amazing how much easier it is. So whether it's the gym or a difficult conversation. And then you've got the trust piece. So whatever you spend on having coaching on difficult conversations, it will pay you back many times in life and in business. So do it.
Fully agree. So what would be for us? Look, you already gave a lot of tips to people who are listening around what they need to do and what it will give you as effect for your business. But then how do you get around to it? Because again, people will be listening to this podcast, and as you know, oh, that's a very good idea, and then they stop. Then they get stuck. What can they do? What will be for us? What things could we come up with? What will be the 3 things businesses can do to elevate this as a way forward for their leadership team and their team members?
If I was being cheeky, this is silly, but let's just say it anyway. What I do for a period of time? I turn off your emails. Right? The only way you can communicate internally, or maybe even externally, why not just put a thing on your email thing that says, we don't send or receive or answer emails or look at emails till midday. If you want to talk to me prior to midday, you've got to call me. Because I literally see people in businesses, they've got the dividers between the desks. There's somebody sat the other side of their divider, and they don't even just peer over. They send an email, and then we end up in these email trails. So if you want to build relationships and create better understanding, stick your head over the divider, the metaphorical divider, and have a conversation. So maybe turning off emails, because actually they can wind people up, misunderstanding and so on. So I want to have those conversations. The second one is I'm not saying encourage, almost sort of somehow force, if you can, or get into the habit of having togetherness sessions, strategic sessions. I want to call them an hour or 2. I mean, ideally face to face. I mean, if you've got to have them online, I know that with the hybrid world do it, but spend time together. And when I mean create the space, sometimes you just go for a walk with somebody, or I hear a great one. Sit in the car with somebody. Go on a journey. It's amazing what you will or won't, talk about. And often I have conversations with some of my chums. We go fishing, and I know nothing happens. It's hours of nothing. It is. And then suddenly somebody will say something, and you have a conversation you wouldn't have in a sort of a restricted world or a restricted office world. But when you're away from home, or you're out walking, or you're in the car, you're doing some fishing, it's amazing. So try and create that environment. So that's the second one. The third one is something for me around permission. And I think this sort of reflects leadership. If leaders need to create an environment where it's okay to give and receive feedback, and there's permission to give and receive feedback, but that means, leaders, you've got to give permission for people to give you feedback. It's not okay for you to say, I'm leader, I give feedback downwards. It's got to come back up. And as soon as you start doing that, you change the dynamics, you change the team dynamics, you change the trust, but also you're giving people permission to give and receive feedback at their level. You start it, and that's asking for feedback. I would say, I bet my life savings. I guarantee you a much more productive and healthy culture.
I agree fully. I think those tips actually are things we learned years ago in a Ticknam course. They basically said, look, guys, stop doing meetings in the office. Go do a walking meeting. So do your one-to-ones walking with your team. There could be individual walkings, could be team walkings. Use 15 minutes in the office to clutter through any PowerPoints you want to do, and then get out.
Yeah.
Don't answer your emails anymore. Emails are only there to confirm agreements, not to communicate. So stop sending CC, BCC, and all those emails out there. Don't respond to them anymore. Just talk to each other. Get into the fucking meeting room, have a conversation. Figure it out, and then send out the notes later. So this is also in line with what you're saying now, and I think that those are valuable lessons I learned in the past, especially from those guys from Ticknam. So I'm also doing some sponsoring for those guys. I don't even know if they exist anymore. But they were really good in creating, they were focused on sustainable high performance. But at the same time, those tips they gave us were so amazing that my emails, I got half the emails after those sessions. And they didn't went up because I didn't read them anyway. So that was also an advantage for me as leader. I didn't read emails.
That's perfect, though. Perfect, isn't it?
But it actually worked. It actually works. So I think these are really, really, really great tips.
Just quick, I'm just laughing, dude. So that, on the maths, if you think if 5 people send 5 emails, 25 emails, and you press reply all, 125 emails, 625. I don't know what goes after that. Yeah. 3,000 emails within just a couple of tranches. No one's going to reply.
Exactly. And even worse. Yeah. Do you know how much time we spend on reading emails, which is unproductive? If you have 25 people in an email, or I recently noticed that we had 60 people in a steering committee, 60 times, let's say, €200 spending 2 hours in the steering committee meeting, everyone getting concerned. Do you know what that costs?
I mean, it's got to be thousands, isn't it? But the funny thing is, I think this is just a quick aside, and feel free to edit this one out. But if you think about, if I work for a client, because in essence I'm a consultant, so people buy tokens. You can call it a day rate, an hourly rate, doesn't matter. But they buy tokens, and sometimes I say to the client, "Do you want to spend those tokens with me doing this exercise or activity, or this one?" But you've only got so many hours. I'll answer all the emails in the world. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do your washing and ironing. But is that how you want me to spend? And you just say, no, thank you. Would you spend it, over here? Go, great. Yeah, no problem at all. But they don't do that with each other.
Exactly.
So in their teams, they send each other a pile of shit to do, and then go, why haven't you done your job? Rather than saying, well, actually, how do you want me to spend let's just say 7 hours a day. I don't know how long people work. Just put 7 hours. How do you want me to spend my 7 hours today? Because I'll send all the emails you want. I'll write all the reports you want. Or would you like me to solve this?
Yeah. No, I think it's a super valid point. Hey, we're running to the end of our time. So any bombshell you want to share?
A bombshell?
Yeah.
The quick one, I think middle-aged, I think there's a bunch of middle-aged leaders that are too frightened to have difficult conversations these days. They're too afraid of losing their job. They're too afraid of upsetting the apple cart. And I don't think it's good enough. And I think we've got to pay attention to it.
Fully agree. On that bombshell, thanks, PJ. As always, it was a pleasure. I really like this topic, actually, because I think it's going to be a good spin-up for our next topic. And I think people really listen to this, because you can give feedback, you should give feedback, but you need to create a trusted environment where that's possible. And open up, ask feedback yourself, because at the end of the day, look, if you can't do it together, then you're not gonna hit your target. You're not gonna hit the mark. So just get it done. On that bombshell, see you guys. Speak later.
Cheers. Bye.